TAFE New South Wales welcomes you to training for GamesForce 2000. Games training is proudly sponsored by TAFE New South Wales, official training services supporter of the Olympic Games and partner of the Paralympic Games. This video and the orientation training material will provide you with an overview of your Games experience, a history of the Games, an introduction to venues and sports, and advice on customer relations. There's the training manual, which will give you an overview of the Olympic and Paralympic Games, a copy of your Go Passport, which is part of a program that will recognise and thank you for your contribution to delivering the dream. The idea is to carry it in your hip bag whenever you're working. The Go Passport is also a record of all training sessions you attend. Make sure you keep it safe, because in the future it can be used as official recognition of prior learning, should you wish to apply for further study at a TAFE New South Wales campus. And when you attend venue training, you'll receive the Venue Pocket Guide. This is a quick reference guide for you to use on the job. Good luck and have a great time.
Discipline is probably one of the biggest assets that you can have as an elite athlete. And I mean, you can transcribe that to everything you do in your life. For us, you know, it means not cutting any corners in training and, you know, just doing everything you need to do to be the best you can be.
As a volunteer, it's quite important to be disciplined because sometimes you're doing tasks or little activities that you don't really understand how they fit into the big picture, and you have to trust the people that you're working for that they're putting you in the right direction, in the right place at the right time. And so you can't sit there and say, but why am I doing this? You do it, and you do it willingly and with a smile, and that's what being a volunteer is all about.
It's been a long, hard road. There's been times when I've wanted to give up. There's been times when it's been fantastic. There's been times where I've been injured and thought that I'd never get out of it and be stuck there, you know, never play again. But just having the patience and persistence and determination to keep going, and to know, I mean, for us, we've got a home Olympics, and to know that's the light at the end of the tunnel has been great motivation for me.
I think to do any type of volunteer work over a long period of time, the long hours that we'll be working, if you don't have patience, you're going to find your job very, very difficult. You will tend to, I think if you don't have patience, you will become very negative, and we certainly don't want that. It doesn't matter what the role is, any games time role, you must be terribly patient with whoever you're dealing with.
Competition itself can go for several hours, and during those several hours we're only actually competing or doing what we do for, you know, maybe 2 or 3 minutes over that period of time. So concentration has to be really good for those 2 or 3 minutes, but you also have to learn to relax.
Concentration is the key to elite performance in the international arena. You've got to be able to switch on and switch off. You can't go out and concentrate for 4 or 5 hours at a time. It's an enormous capacity to do that. But for a shot putter who might have one shot every 4 years of being the best in the world, the ability to focus all their efforts at that given moment, that takes immense concentration and immense ability to focus on the right things at the right time.
You've got to concentrate on the job by watching what's going on around you, that certain things are allowed and not allowed. For instance, smoking in the stadium, so if you see somebody smoking, you've got to be alert to that. So you've got to concentrate on what is expected of you.
I've seen too many athletes who have wasted careers through not being focused enough, not being determined enough, being too laissez-faire in their approach. And you might get one crack at Olympic Games. Some people will get 2, and the very lucky ones maybe 3 if they've come into the sport at an early age. So for that one moment and for 4 years, it's not much of a sacrifice to give 4 years of your life or 6 years of your life in preparing for an Olympic Games. And I think if you have that dream, that hope and that belief, the determination part and the motivation part should be quite simple.
I think it needs to be a quiet determination. I think that you have to sometimes learn how to be a little bit laid back as well. I don't think that you should be too heavy in the job that you do. I think that you have to keep your sense of humour for starters. I think that is so important.
Commitment, it's a lifetime of commitment. We train like here at the AAS 6 days a week out of 7. We get 1 day off. Occasionally we'll get a long weekend here and there. So, I mean, it's every day, it's constant, and you have to commit to that if you want to succeed.
The job can't occur without a commitment. It's a team effort, everyone has a commitment, and everyone has a role to play. So if every person in the team is committed, the job gets done.
If there are enough volunteers doing a very good job, everything runs smoothly and the athletes can focus on performance. If the volunteers aren't there, then all of a sudden officials become a problem and food becomes a problem and shade and water, etc. It just flows on. So they're absolutely inherent to the success of athletes in the elite arena.
A lot of the time the athletes are locked in the zone and busy doing their job, but if you've got great volunteers behind you, it's comforting to know that you can get out there and do your job.
No matter how you're representing your country, you're going to need discipline, patience, determination, concentration and commitment. On a day working in an actual games venue, you're going to need all that and more. This video, shot at the Australian Gymnastics Championships, which was a test event, will give you a taste of what it's going to be like working at the Games.
Punctuality is certainly very important because people will be depending upon me to do my job at the time designated.
One thing I've been sort of gearing up for, and I've been testing the train system, public transport, the buses, to make sure that games time, even though there'll be hundreds and more people, just make sure that I know where I'm going and what I'm going to be doing.
Morning, how are you?
Good.
When you check in, the volunteers and general staff come to the desk. They get marked off. They're given a voucher for their respective meal times, and then move off onto their allocated areas. And there's our competition for today, and our newsletter for today.
For venue staffing, we need to know who's arrived, that they've come to the venue, and who's in the venue, and what time their shift starts and finishes. One of the events we worked on, we had smiley stickers, and when they came in, we gave them a smiley sticker. And for those who missed out, we knew because they hadn't come to see us first. They said, well, where's my smiley sticker? So I said, you've got to come to check in first.
All right, everybody, here's the situation.
Daily briefings are extremely important for all staff to be involved with. Normally at the beginning of a shift, when volunteers report to their supervisor or team leader or manager, they're expected to attend a daily briefing, and that is so the manager, supervisor, team leader can communicate the key things for the day to staff, let them know of any major changes, instructions for the day, give volunteers an opportunity to ask questions about their role, their position, clarify anything that will actually help them perform.
Our shifts vary in length. Generally they're about 8 hours long, with a half-hour meal break and 2 10-minute coffee breaks, but due to unforeseeable circumstances, sometimes we have to stay a little longer.
Yep.
What will happen is I will get the people from the concourse. I'm a spectator services team leader. My job is to take a group of people and I deploy them in the mornings, and then I go and rotate them around, give them their breaks, their meal breaks and their coffee breaks, and liaise with the other team leaders about rotating them around to different areas. So I might be at ticket taking in the morning and move my staff in the afternoon to do some ushering or some access monitoring, just to give them a bit of variety. Waiting for her to come back with his ticket.
The last gymnast in this second rotation of 4 is Jackie Dunn.
My specific job is in event management, so I'm inputting data into the computer for all the competitors and the judges, and making sure that all of that's right. Then printing all of the reports for all the results for rhythmic gymnastics and trampoline. That what I'm doing is about putting together the whole Olympic package and making the gymnasts experience even greater, and presenting what it is that they've done to the whole world.
When there's a lull in the proceeding, we get our meal breaks, and we take them obviously whenever we can, so as not to interfere with people coming in, because just because our meal break happens to be at a particular time, that could be when there's a rush of people surging in unexpectedly, so we've got to be prepared for that.
There'll be a lot of different volunteers who will have to work with different customer groups. Maybe it's athletes that they work primarily with, maybe they work primarily with technical officials or the Olympic councils, or maybe in some cases the client or the customer group is staff. So no matter what the customer group is, it's important that we don't drop our guard, that we're providing the best service that we possibly can, and the tough time is when that customer interaction does become very, very difficult and stressful.
So we have to be strong in what we're doing, know what we're doing, so we can get them in and seated quickly and try and calm any problems they have.
We all need to get on, we all need to help each other to make sure the event goes as smoothly as possible.
Being part of a team has many benefits for us. It means that because we're training together and then working together, we can rely on each other. We understand what everybody does, and we can rely on each person to do that job because they've been trained like we have.
There are no egos involved. Everybody chips in. There are no boundaries.
Most of the people go to the first door.
Exactly, I found that.
And there's a big queue at that first door, and the lass at the second door is standing there like a lily on a dirt tin. I wondered...
Debriefing happens most days, and we find it very good because it allows any problems that have come up, any issues that have come up during the day to be dealt with there and then. Also, if staff have any queries or problems that they perhaps haven't been able to raise as yet, it's a forum in which they can raise those problems and have them dealt with.
It's just a one-off time. It won't happen next year. It won't happen probably ever again in Sydney.
So to be just involved in a little bit in the Sydney Olympics, we're never going to have it again. It's just amazing, yeah.
If I can be of any help to make sure it's a success, for Sydney and Australia, that's all that I really, feel good about.
I don't think I'll ever most probably go off to another Olympics or whatever else, so having in your back door and be able to participate, I think is a bonus.
Once in a lifetime experience.
To be a volunteer, it is really great. I've met a lot of great people from all around the world and made a lot of new friends that otherwise I wouldn't have made.
Teamwork and communication. You saw how important they were at that test event. It's easy to imagine how vital they're going to be at games time when the pressure is on and there's so much more to deal with. There's going to be a real sense of excitement and urgency, and you're going to have to be the person who's calm, supportive and knowledgeable. And you're going to have to support one another as well. In Australia, sport is a way of life, not only bringing people together, but also giving them a sense of confidence, self-esteem and pride.
Take your mark.
If there wasn't any sport, life would be probably boring. You can exercise and it makes you stronger.
I think we're very lucky in Australia that sport is considered important in the community, that sport is considered important in the schools, and swimming in particular. Almost every school has its own swimming carnival, and I think it's tremendous for their self-esteem. Even if they didn't have much ability at swimming, but if they stick to the work, they will come through and do well in their school stuff, and this can make a huge difference their entire life.
What are we going to do in the breaststroke? Glide, that's right. What are we going to do at the start of the breaststroke?
Yeah, I think it does give you confidence, as in if you see results. If you don't see results, you sort of get down, but that makes you tougher because in your mind you have to talk to yourself and say, okay, I've got to get on top of this and I know I can do it, and sort of more belief in yourself, and when you have that belief, you get your confidence.
What a way to finish.
When he just started swimming and looking at his stroke that looked so effortless.
The netball stopped for about 2 minutes until Kieran won the last couple of laps.
Yeah, we were actually sitting at home watching our TV and the kids were pretty excited whether he was going to get there or not.
It was fantastic.
Superstars of Australian sport, ladies and gentlemen.
We were there, right beside his girlfriend and his family, and it was absolutely sensational. And a whole band of Australians were around us, and they were all painted in green and gold and jumping up and down. It was just an incredible feeling.
Hey, if I can win here, I can win anywhere.
I've been playing sport for well over 50 years. Teaches you to win graciously and to lose graciously.
We're a sporting nation and a big participant sporting nation. We've had successes on the sporting fields right from early days, and subsequent generations have kept up the spirit.
You name it, we're good at it, and we're modest too.
Sport is very important in my life. I pretty much play sport a lot.
I play twice a week.
Since I was a kid, I've always played sport.
But it's fun, you get out with friends and you're just doing stuff, you're not just sitting at home doing nothing. I think I'm obsessed with it, but it's great. I mean, all weekend it's sport, that's what you do.
When you're on the court and you get physically pounded by the opponent, it's a test for you to see what type of person you are. And other people can see that when you play, if you're a good sportsman or not.
Australians do like to be fit and they like to excel at sport. It's so wonderful to see like the swimmers doing well, the netballers doing well, the softball doing well, and we've got like Kathy Freeman. Because we love to excel at sport, it has made us better athletes.
And certainly I've gained a lot of confidence from playing sport. I think I'd be quite a different person if I hadn't played sport.
Just like to have a go at anything, so we'll have a go at a whole different range of sports.
My experience is that it's crucial to a lot of people in Australia.
If I don't play, I get the itch to play. If it's not basketball, it's another sport.
It's just part and parcel of life in Australia.
Basically, we do so well, so we get into it, we get a lot of pride from it.
With 28 Olympic sports and 18 Paralympic sports to watch, there will be hundreds of thousands of visitors to the Games. In an event of this size, no matter what you're doing or where you're working, you're going to have to expect the unexpected and be prepared. At the moment, I'm sitting in Stadium Australia, which is one of the many venues especially built for the Games. Let's take a look at some more of them. The Olympic Coordination Authority's construction program has been a spectacular success. Since 1995, some 12.5 million hours have been worked on Olympic projects, many of which have been spent constructing the world-class sporting venues here at Homebush Bay. When 4.5 billion television viewers watch the opening ceremony of the 27th Olympiad, they will see the largest outdoor venue in modern Olympic history, Stadium Australia. Inside the stadium, a capacity crowd of 110,000 people will cheer on competitors during the opening ceremony and wait eagerly to hear the immortal words, "Let the Games begin." The athletes will then take centre stage to compete. Let's take a look at some of the world-class venues they'll be competing in. The Sydney International Aquatic Centre, which includes competition pools as well as leisure pools and gardens. It's been specially expanded for the Games from a seating capacity of 4,400 to 16,000. The Sydney Superdome, Australia's biggest indoor entertainment, sport and event arena, which will house the gymnastics and the basketball. The Superdome's event floor is much bigger than in most entertainment centres, and it's surrounded by 5 levels of seating, which can accommodate up to 20,000 spectators. The Sydney International Equestrian Centre, featuring more than 25 kilometres of trails spread over 80 hectares of native bushland, a combined show jumping and dressage main arena, and a fully enclosed indoor training hall. The State Hockey Centre, Australia's premier hockey facility. The Sydney International Regatta Centre. The Shooting Centre at Liverpool. The Sydney International Archery Park, which is part of the network of open space forming the Millennium Parklands. The Sailing Shore Base at Rushcutters Bay. The modification of the Exhibition Hall and Convention Centre in Darling Harbour. The development of venues in Brisbane, Canberra, Melbourne and Adelaide to accommodate the Games football preliminaries. The construction and development of non-competition venues like the Olympic Park train station, the media and technical officials villages at Lidcombe and Villawood. And of course the Athletes Village, which will be one of the world's largest solar-powered communities. Sydney's successful bid for the 2000 Olympic Games has provided the impetus for one of the largest remediation projects ever undertaken in Australia. The restoration of a unique site and the construction of world-class facilities has created a legacy of sporting and recreational venues for a long time to come. Some extraordinary work has been achieved in just a few years. Over 30 competition venues and over 100 non-competition venues. You may find yourself at a competition venue like Stadium Australia. You may be a driver, at the airport, or issuing uniforms at a non-competition venue. Wherever you find yourself, providing an exceptional level of customer service to our visitors is vital to the success of the Olympic and Paralympic Games.
I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to GamesForce 2000, and I'd most sincerely like to thank each and every one of you for being part of the workforce that's going to deliver just a great Games for Sydney and for Australia. You know, we're sitting in a room here where you can see examples of the planning that's been done now for many, many years, the maps, the diagrams, but it all comes down to the workforce, training well and then delivering on the day. Really, the Games, Australia's reputation, is in your hands. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for delivering.
The Sydney 2000 Olympic and Paralympic Games will attract over 2 million visitors from more than 200 countries. As a member of the Games workforce, you will be one of the main points of contact for people visiting and working at our Games. Your customers may include spectators, athletes, officials, the media, and your own Games workforce colleagues. These visitors will take their impressions home and share them with others. Your customer service might be the key difference between a positive or negative experience. Providing good customer service means aiming to exceed customer expectations. To do this, you must know your venue, your team, your job, your facts, yourself and your limits. By thoroughly understanding these elements, you will be able to meet customers' needs with confidence.
When I think about gold medal customer service, I think about going the extra distance for those people that we're here to help. GamesForce 2000 are the front line. They are the people who are going to be out there that our visitors are going to be talking to. And I think it's important to think about their needs, to listen carefully to what they're saying, to follow through on helping them, and just to provide that warm, friendly, and sincere support that they're looking for.
At the end of the day, perhaps, not everybody expects every need to be met, but they do expect us to try, and trying alone, doing our best, is what we'll be remembered for.
Whether you are stationed at a competition venue or a non-competition venue, such as an accreditation area or a staff dining room, you need to provide exceptional customer service.
people coming into an Australian context are just as likely and expecting to absorb and be considerate of our culture as we should be of theirs. And so I think the rule is be yourself, be proud of who you are and how you do things, and also respect that others might indeed be different. There is no one culture. I don't have one culture. I was born in a certain country. I've come from a certain country. Someone would say, I'm Italian. I'd say, well, I have Italian heritage.
I very well remember being up in Nagano for the Winter Olympic Games, and one of the things that stays in the memory of me and many who were there about that is the wonderful attitude, the wonderful customer service provided by the Japanese workforce, including the volunteers. They were dealing, after all, with people from all around the world. The language difficulties were there from time to time, but it didn't matter because you knew they were well trained and they were trying their very best to deliver the goods. That'll be a lasting memory out of Nagano, and we can have the same sort of memory out of our wonderful games in Sydney and Australia.
Good afternoon, Sydney 2000, can I help you?
People with disabilities live, work and achieve just like other members of the community. It is their right to receive the same level of service as any customer. This right is protected by anti-discrimination legislation. It's more than just knowing where the wheelchair-accessible toilets and ramps are located. It's about seeing the customer with a disability as an individual and understanding their specific needs.
For the last 12 years I've been playing wheelchair basketball, and in 1996 won a gold medal at Atlanta. I like doing pretty much anything that everyone else would like to do. Believe it or not, probably a bit of gardening, going actually to the cinema with my friends and going out to good restaurants and the like.
Most of the people with disabilities in the general community are very independent people and don't require as much mollycoddling, I guess, as you would really think. Certainly be proactive in your approach. Don't be intimidated. The approach is always necessary. It's the response to the approach which you need to gauge.
I'm a very independent person. I mean, I've lived on my own for the last 6 years, and I do water ski, I do snow ski, I do drive a car, and there's been times where people have actually imposed their help on me, and they've literally pushed me out of my wheelchair.
I guess the things that I would find patronising are if someone was to offer me some assistance and I didn't need it, forcing that assistance on me, which, if it's not needed, can actually be worse than not having any sort of assistance at all.
Effectively, you will get a lot of information when you get briefed about accessibility, and that's what it's called. It's called accessibility. So there's no such thing as a disabled toilet. It's an accessible toilet. It's not a disabled bus, it's an accessible bus and accessible seating. Pretty much, if it was disabled, it wouldn't work.
If the customer is using a wheelchair, and if practical, you should crouch down to the customer's eye level and respect their personal space by not touching them or their chair. Never address the person's partner, friend or family member unless instructed, even if you think it might be quicker or easier to do so. When talking to someone with a hearing impairment, speak clearly using your normal tone and volume. Keep your face visible at all times while you are talking. Use visual materials or a pen and paper to help you communicate if necessary.
My name is Ming and I'm a
Introduce yourself by name to a person with a vision impairment. You may guide a customer by offering them your arm. Walk at a normal pace. Never pat or distract a guide dog while it is in harness. We want to help you take pride in your role in the Olympics and Paralympics. Proactively look for customers who look like they need assistance. Reflect on what the customers are telling you. Inform the customer with correct facts. Deal with the uniqueness of every situation. Engage the customer with your genuine consideration and courtesy. Remember, good customer service starts with you. So aim to deliver your personal best.
So thanks very much again for your support and the time that you're giving up. You really are the people who are going to make a difference. You are the front line of the games, and we can't do these games without you. So we're very grateful for your support, and I know that you will make a difference to the success of both the Olympic and the Paralympic Games.
Whatever your role is, you'll be an ambassador for Australia, and you can be proud of your contribution to the success of the Games. By wearing the GamesForce 2000 uniform, you may be asked all sorts of questions, and not just about the Games. People want to know more about this town too. Whilst the city of Sydney is a relatively modern city, Aboriginal people have lived on this site for over 40,000 years. Today, diverse groups of Aboriginal people from all over Australia live here. Some of you know Sydney well. Others have travelled here to be part of the Games. Wherever you're from, take the time to prepare yourself with a variety of suggestions for our visitors about where to eat, what to do, and where to go in our culturally diverse city. When people think of Australia, they think of all of these incredible places to visit. In somewhere like Sydney, there's 1,000 things to see and do. What we want to do here is show you some things and take you some places that are beyond the bridge, the Opera House and the wonders of Sydney Harbour. This is the Hermitage Foreshore Walk. It runs between Neilson Park, which has a beautiful harbour beach and swimming area, and the suburb of Rose Bay. This is what the Sydney Harbour foreshore has pretty much always looked like. Weird, twisted shrubs, gorgeous sandstone rocks tumbling down to the water. It's great. You can be in bush like this, and the city is just over there. This here is the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Houses a terrific collection of Australian art from the 19th century, some magnificent contemporary works as well. One of the best things you'll find here is the Yiribana Gallery and its collection of Aboriginal art. So Angela, what's going to be on here at the gallery during the Olympics?
Our major exhibition will be Papunya Tula, Genesis and Genius, featuring a sand painting, artists from the desert coming to show us the process of the sand painting. An integral part of the exhibition will be a performer in residence program, so people can come any day and see an Aboriginal performance program. At the same time, there'll also be the Australian Icons exhibition running, which is 19th and 20th century Australian art. And it's going to be a really wonderful welcome to all the visitors to Sydney during this period.
Fantastic. Don't miss the Yiribana Gallery and all the rest of the great works housed in the Art Gallery of New South Wales. OK, let's eat. And this is Chinatown. This year is the year of the Golden Dragon, a year which comes just once every 60 years, and Chinatown is really pumping. There's the latest fashions. Paris, Milan, Chinatown. Food. Shops you wouldn't believe. To keep up with it all, there's 4 local Chinese language newspapers. I thought I said let's eat. Chinatown is serving food and drink at least 24 hours a day. There's about 40 sit-down restaurants, there's food halls with dozens of stalls lining the walls. There's coffee shops, bakeries and bars. You can enjoy a little duck or just grab yourself a quick snack. Sydney's got great shopping, and right next door to Chinatown is Paddy's Market. Row after row of toys, t-shirts, sunglasses, souvenirs. Perfect. It's the kind of place that leaves you wanting less. Shopping, eating, cultural excitement. You gotta love this town. And what else is there to love about Sydney? Well, what about the beach? Sydney is a city of 4 million people, and all of them have their favourite beach. It might be Bondi, it might be Manly, it might be Palm Beach up north. But let me tell you about one that doesn't get all that much attention. This is Balmoral Beach. It's tucked in just behind the suburb of Mossman. It's a harbour beach, and you can swim here without any fear at all of the hammerhead or the great white, as it comes complete with its own shark net. Balmoral's got a lovely, gentle, calm sort of air about it. It's a place for strolling, for an easy-going swim. You can eat. Some of Sydney's finest restaurants are here, and the local fish and chips are just great. beautiful old figs and palms, and the magic of tiny Rocky Point. And if you're lucky, you might catch one of the many events that takes place in this rather Romanesque bandstand. This is a great city. The light, the water, the warmth, the people, all combine to make this a magic city to live in and to visit. Enjoy it, we do, and good luck helping all of our visitors to enjoy it as well. And don't forget, there's also a huge program of opera, dance, music, theatre and visual arts events on in Sydney and Australia at Games time as part of the Olympic and Paralympic Arts Festival. So now you know what to expect when working at the Sydney 2000 Games. We hope you'll have a great time, and on behalf of TAFE New South Wales, we thank you for your hard work and enthusiasm.
You know, we've been embarked on this journey now for many years. The bid was won back in 1993, and since then a tremendous amount of work has been done. It's my view that we have a great Olympic Games, a great Paralympic Games within grasp now, if we just finally deliver the goods. And whilst it started many years ago, it will finish with you, the GamesForce 2000, because when it comes right down to it, on the day, you will be the people who deliver the Olympic and Paralympic Games for Sydney, for Australia, for the athletes, for the international Olympic movement. And when we've had a great Games, the credit is going to be yours.
Selling programs. My office is just over there.
Hi, I just need to see your accreditation.
Accreditation? What's accreditation?
The Sydney 2000 Olympic and Paralympic Games are almost here. So it's time to get serious about accreditation. Accreditation is all about this pass. My pass gets me into the competition areas of the aquatic centre where I'm swimming and into the athletes village where I'm staying. Your accreditation pass will get you to where you need to go to do the job that you've been given. Accreditation is compulsory. It's essential to control the flow of people around and inside our venues. Besides training, it's the most important thing we all need to do. And with a bit of advice, it's easy. More than 200,000 people will need to go through the accreditation process. Volunteers, contractors and athletes alike. It's not complicated, but there are some important things you need to know. Accreditation happens in 2 stages. First, you'll receive a non-valid pass. Then you need to take it to an accreditation centre to have it validated. Do the right thing and get in early. Like everywhere else, our accreditation centres will get a lot busier later on.
Hi.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep, it's you.
But with a non-valid pass and a personal appearance, the rest is really easy.
That's fine, thanks.
Thanks very much.
The staff will validate, trim and laminate your pass, and then you're ready for action.
There we go. Okay, so your pass goes like this, with your photo facing up, and you need to hold it out for inspection whenever you're moving into a new venue, and make sure it's always clearly on show.
Thank you.
No problem.
You can come here without your non-valid pass, but you'll need to wait while the information is processed and a non-valid pass is produced. That means queuing twice, which takes a lot more time. It's what I'd call a last resort. At the Uniform Distribution and Accreditation Centre, UDAC, you can also pick up your uniform at the same time. If you lose your pass, you'll need to go right back to the beginning and have it reissued. And if you're working at the Paralympics, you'll need a separate accreditation pass. But no matter what type of pass you need, it's really important to get in early. If you meet the deadlines, sending in your forms and your photo and visit the accreditation centre as soon as you can, the whole process will take about 2 hours. Different people need different passes, and SOCOG decides what type of pass you'll need to do the job you've been given. There are several different types of passes and 6 colour and number codes. The different pass types are a Games Pass, a 2-part pass and a Day Pass. A Games Pass is valid for the duration of the Olympic or the Paralympic Games. It's for everyone who knows in advance where they'll be working. A 2-part pass is for people who could be working in a different location each day. The first part of the pass is all about the person in the photograph, and it stays with them. The second part has venue and within venue access entitlements. You collect it from your supervisor each day and hand it to your supervisor or manager at the end of the day. This pass allows you to be deployed to different venues or areas within venues each day. A Day Pass allows access for the day of issue only. These will be used if you're temporarily reassigned to a new area. Day passes will also be used if you've lost your pass on the way to your shift, so you can still do your job for that day. After your shift is finished, you need to go to the UDAC and have your original pass reissued. Even before the crowds arrive, the Games will be alive with people and action behind the scenes. Understanding where your pass does and doesn't let you go is all about colours and codes. Your pass will set out which venue you can access. These colour and number codes relate to different areas called zones at each venue. White gains you access to general circulation areas. That's where ticket holders are allowed to go. Red gets you into operational areas. Blue gets you into field of play and athlete preparation areas. That's my colour. Every step down the chart includes the level before it. So red includes access to white and blue includes access to white and to red. 4 is for press areas. 5 is for broadcast areas. 6 is for the Olympic Family Lounge. And R is for the residential zone of the Olympic Village. Reg will be looking after dignitaries in the Olympic Family Lounge. Cheryl has a paid job as a contractor selling programs. While everyone's part of the same process, Reg and Cheryl have very different accreditation passes. This part of the pass is the venue, and Reg will be at the tennis centre at Homebush. That's a nice photo, and he remembered to smile, almost. Cheryl's is for the tennis centre today. Reg's within venue code is white because the Olympic Family Lounge area is accessed from the general circulation areas. He's also got a 6, which is a special clearance code for the lounge itself. The part where he's working is not open to the general public. While all passes have a colour, not all of them will have a number code like this. Cheryl has a 2-part pass with a red access code. The first part is all about her, and the second part is about the venue. Today she's selling programs inside the tennis centre. The second part is detached and handed in at the end of each day. She'll probably be working at another location tomorrow. There are many variations on the colour and number your pass might have. Sue is working in the tennis centre as a sports staff volunteer. Her blue pass gives her access to the field of play. Joan works inside the tennis centre. Her red pass allows her access to operational areas where she monitors access between zones. These codes mean the system works for everyone. People on the ground know where they can go, and crowd flow and essential operations can be managed without a hitch. If you do get confused, all the codes are printed on the back of your pass, and all the gates around the Olympic site are colour-coded. Gates and checkpoints at the Olympic venues share the same colours. White means general circulation, red is for operational, and blue is for athletes' preparation and field of play. Every venue uses the same labelling. Every time anyone enters, their pass needs to be presented and checked closely. Reg likes to wear his sunglasses around his neck, but he needs to be sure that his pass stays clearly visible.
Excuse me, sir. I just need to read the details on your pass to make sure you've got access to
That's
this
how
area.
closely every pass will be checked and rechecked every day. With a different location every day, it's essential Cheryl keeps her two-part pass clearly on show. Make sure that your pass is always on show, and whatever you do, don't lose it. That's what accreditation's all about. Because it's my clearance to compete, it's always exciting being officially accredited. Over the years, I've learnt that if you plan ahead, accreditation is no problem at all. Understanding the process helps everyone. Getting it right means that when our big moment comes, you and I will both be able to concentrate on turning in a personal best performance at the Sydney 2000 Olympic and Paralympic Games.
Welcome to the Sydney 2000 Games training video for radio users. If you've been advised you may be using a radio for your role, you should continue watching this radio user training program. The program will cover all the important aspects of using the radio during the games, radio talk groups and call signs, radio features and how to use them, radio protocols, and problem solving. Your supervisor will arrange for you to receive a radio user pocket guide. Your managers will practice this with you before your first shift. Congratulations on your role and good luck. Radios are particularly suited to our games environment because almost all areas of a venue can be covered by radio. One message can be heard by many users. They're portable. They're cost-effective and secure from unauthorized use, and are capable of handling high volumes of traffic. Sydney-based radio users will be using the Samsung portable radio. This video outlines in detail how to use this radio and the procedures and protocols which apply. If you're working at a venue outside Sydney, you'll be using a different model of radio. However, the features will be similar and the procedures and protocols will be the same as is described in this video. Your supervisor will provide you with training on how to use the features of the specific radio you will use. There may be around 200 radio users at your venue. Your supervisor will allocate you to a talk group together with other users with whom you need to be in constant contact to carry out your game's role. You may think of a talk group like a channel, enabling you to make direct contact with other users on the same talk group. For example, most radio users involved in managing the field of play at a competition venue will be on a different talk group to the radio users involved in back-of-house support. If you need to make contact with radio users on a different talk group, the Venue Communications Centre will assist you to make the connection. The Venue Communications Centre, known as the VCC, monitors the key radio talk groups at most venues and provides communication support to the venue team. You must not change your talk group unless you are instructed to do so by your supervisor or the VCC. Your supervisor will assign you a call sign which you will use to identify yourself to other users of the radio system. You are not authorized to use personal names when initiating radio calls. This call sign will normally be descriptive of the task or position that you perform, and is a very important part of ensuring radio calls are effective and efficient. Let's now look at the portable radio features and how to use them. If your supervisor has told you that you'll be using a radio, you'll either go to the Radio Distribution Centre, known as the RDC, to collect your radio, or your supervisor may issue it to you during the beginning of shift briefing. You'll sign for your radio and the RDC crew will confirm your call sign. Your radio will already be set to the talk group you'll be using. You should check that this is correct when you pick it up.
If you're unsure about your talk group or call sign, check this with your supervisor. You may be issued with either a radio pouch or a belt clip so that you can support your radio on your belt or other suitable place. The belt clip is attached to the rear of the radio battery. Alternatively, you may carry the radio using the shoulder strap provided with the pouch. You must not carry or handle the radio by the antenna, as this will damage the antenna. Your radio will normally be issued with a remote speaker microphone. This should be draped over your shoulder from the rear. It may be fastened to your clothing with the rotatable clip at the back of the microphone. The on-off knob is also the volume control. To turn the radio on, turn the on-off knob clockwise to about 11 o'clock. You should keep the radio loud enough so you can hear each call clearly, but not louder than is necessary, especially in areas used by spectators, as this may interfere with their enjoyment of the event. The radio will go through an automatic self-testing sequence. If this sequence fails, an error message will show in the display. If this happens, turn the radio off and back on. If the radio still fails, return it to the RDC for replacement. Before you leave the RDC, check that you know your call sign and that your radio is on the correct talk group. You'll need to become familiar with the display, as it helps you understand how the radio is operating. The text in the middle of the display indicates the talk group the radio is currently using. In this case, the radio is using the talk group for the medical team. The talk group is changed by the dial on the top of the radio. As you turn the dial, the display will show the selected talk group. Normally, you'll only need to use your own talk group and possibly the VCC-based talk group. The VCC-based talk group is usually located in position 1 on the talk group selector dial. If you wish to turn the light for the display on and off, this can be done using the purple button on the left-hand side of the radio. There's a very small red indicator light just below the antenna. The light will remain lit whenever you hold the press to talk button, also known as the PTT. If your battery is losing charge or going flat, you'll hear a high-pitched beep and the battery icon will flash in the top line of the display. A supply of charged batteries is kept at the RDC. If you're working in an area where you cannot easily get to the RDC to change batteries, you'll be issued with a spare battery at the beginning of your shift. The RDC crew will show you how to fit the replacement battery when it's issued. Let's now have a look at radios in use. There are key differences between using the radio and the telephone. When using the telephone, both parties can speak at once and at the same time hear what the other is saying. With radios, only one person can speak at a time. Always remember that as you'll be able to hear every conversation on your talk group, your messages are not private. If you need to discuss something of a sensitive nature, you should use the radio to arrange a face-to-face meeting. When making a radio call, you must follow a 6-step process. With practice, this will become second nature. Think about what you want to say. Listen for any existing conversations on the talk group and wait for any existing calls to be completed before transmitting. Press the Press to Talk button. Hold the remote speaker mic with your thumb against your cheek so that you can speak across the microphone. Your mouth should be about 5 centimeters away from the microphone. The Press to Talk button is used to transmit messages over the radio system. Take a breath. After you have pushed the Press to Talk button, in most instances the radio will sound a talk permit tone. For only a small number of talk groups, this tone won't be heard. In either case, the radio system takes about a second after you press the button to make a connection for you. Speak across the microphone. Do not speak into the microphone, as this may distort your message. Release the Press to Talk button when you have completed each transmission. Remember that while you're transmitting, you'll not be able to hear any reply. For this reason, you should keep each transmission short so that the person to whom you are talking to may reply. So, putting it all together, think about what you want to say, listen to make sure the talk group is not being used, press and hold the PTT button, breathe and wait for the talk permit tones, speak, release the PTT button. When using the radio, there are certain rules we obey and words we use which are referred to as protocol. Following these rules and using the correct terms consistently helps ensure smooth communications. The protocol for making a call is to say the call sign of the person you are calling twice. This is, and then your call sign, followed by the words, come in. VCC, VCC, this is user 1, come in. The other user would respond with their call sign and the word receiving. VCC receiving. You must always use this protocol to ensure you have the attention of the correct person before commencing the detail of your call. For example, staffing 2. Staffing 1, this is staffing 2, come in. Staffing 1 responds.
Staffing 1 receiving.
Staffing 2 can now commence the detail of their call, knowing that they have Staffing 1's attention. At the beginning of every shift, you must make a radio check call. The radio check is simply your first call of the day and is made to either your supervisor or the VCC. Your supervisor will advise you who to contact. You should make the radio check before leaving the RDC area. Making the radio check call will let other users on your talk group know you are on air and confirms for you that the radio is operating properly. For example, VCC, VCC, this is technology 1, radio check over. VCC would respond, technology 1, you are loud and clear, over. Note the use of the word over at the end of each transmission following initiation of the call. This indicates that you have completed your message and expect a reply. You should complete the call. Thank you, technology 1 out. VCC out. Note that using the word out to end your conversation is important as it tells all other radio users that the talk group is now free. When making a call, if you receive no response, you should wait 5 seconds and then call again. For example, VCC, 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 this is technology 1, come in. Saying the other user's call sign 3 times indicates that you are repeating your call. If there is still no response, your final call would be nothing heard, technology 1 out. This is an important call as it lets everyone else on the talk group know that the talk group is free again. Forgetting to make this final call can lead to confusion. The person you are calling may be busy. In this case, they would respond, technology 1, this is VCC, standby 5. This indicates that VCC is busy and will come back to you in 5 minutes. In this case, you would respond, technology 1, standing by, out. Once you've established contact, you don't need to continue using call signs, etc. However, remember to keep your messages brief. Cleaning 1, this is spectator 1, come in. Cleaning 1 receiving. We have a water spill in corridor B5. Will you arrange a cleanup, please? Over. Urgent messages should be preceded by the word priority. Urgent messages should be made first on your talk group. If there is no response, you should change to the VCC base talk group, position 1 on your talk group selector, and make your priority call. Whatever the situation, you should remain calm to ensure that your call is brief and cannot be misunderstood. Follow the standard call procedures. Press the PTT, take a deep breath, and listen for the talk permit tone, and then pass your message. Ops 1, this is catering 1, priority, come in. Ops 1 should respond as follows. Ops 1 receiving, all others please stand by. If there is no response, you should change talk group to VCC base talk group and call as follows. VCC, this is catering 1, priority, come in. If there is no response, you should call again. VCC, this is catering 1, priority, come in. If there is no response again, you should locate assistance by other means. If you hear another user making a priority call on your talk group, you must refrain from making any further routine calls over the radio until the Venue Communications Centre, or VCC, has advised that the talk group is clear for normal operations. You may hear a sound like a ringing telephone from your radio. If this happens, You'll also see the words page received and a musical symbol on your display. If this happens, you should change to the VCC-based talk group and call the VCC using the normal protocol. If you have a radio problem, for example, you can't hear anyone or you can't be heard, you should check that your battery is not flat and the radio is turned on, check that your radio is set to the correct talk group, check that the volume is set high enough, check that when you press the PTT button, the red indicator light comes on. If not, return the radio to the RDC. Make a radio check call as done at the beginning of your shift. If you still experience problems, return the radio to the RDC. If your radio is unable to make a connection to the radio system, it will sound a long, low-pitched tone and the display will say out of range. If this happens, you should check your radio is set to the correct talk group and move around until the message stops flashing and returns to normal. Sometimes the airwaves are very busy. You may not be able to make a call because there is already someone transmitting on your talk group or there are no spare resources on the system. Your radio will tell you this by sending the busy tones instead of the talk permit tone. If this happens, release the PTT button and listen to ensure there is not already a conversation on your talk group. As soon as the system is free, your radio will send the talk permit tone, allowing you to send your message. You should immediately press the PTT button and begin talking using the correct protocol. If you're working close to other radio users, it becomes important that everyone keeps their radio volumes turned as low as possible. You'll notice that there is a time lag between what you say and what other radio users hear.
PCC, could you please advise all functional area managers that the staff meal service has concluded? Over.
This can cause problems unless all nearby users reduce their radio volumes. You must return your radio to the RDC at the end of your shift. While the radio is issued to you, it is your personal responsibility. If your radio is lost or damaged, this should be reported immediately to the RDC. Similarly, faulty radios should be returned for replacement or repair. Don't use your radio near flammable gases and liquids. Obey any signs which request you to switch off two-way radios or similar advice. Don't put your spare radio battery in your pocket or other places where coins or metallic objects can short-circuit the battery. This can cause a fire or severe burns. You may be working in an area such as a venue communication centre or VCC or results collection where a desktop radio is used. You must use the same procedure and protocols as you would on a portable radio. You'll be trained in the specific features of the desktop radio prior to your first shift. Like any other skill, correct use of the radio requires practice if you're to become proficient. Your supervisor will give you specific examples of how the radio will be used to complete your tasks. You'll have an opportunity when you arrive at the venue to practice making radio calls. If you have any questions, you should refer them to your supervisor, who will be happy to help you. Your radio will be an important aid in making your work a pleasant experience. We hope you enjoy being a part of the Sydney 2000 Games team.